This is Rene Enriquez. Nickname Black Hand of the Mexican Mafia. Prison gang politics.
Hey folks, my name is Rene Enriquez. Welcome to Uncensored. I want to continue with part of the profile on Shai, but this is a particular story that always stuck with me, and it kind of shows the depth of our friendship, Shai and me. We're in the county jail in 1990, 1991, 1990 or 1991. Shai came in for, I believe it was a violation, something small. It wasn't a big thing. I was in there fighting a double murder and the stabbings that I had picked up in the county jail. I was on A row in 1700, high power. This was high power. And Shai was my next door neighbor. Well, I was talking about Raymond Main Shrike, Huero Shy from Artesia. And I recall that Shai was suffering from PTSD at the time. He didn't even realize it. I didn't realize it, but he would have anxiety attacks. He would have these anxiety attacks and go man down because he thought he was having a heart attack. It's because you get the palpitations, you feel impending sense of doom, bunch of classic symptoms of PTSD. And I recall that Chato from Arizona would make fun of him. Oh, he's dying again. He's dying again. In fact, we had these vents in the back of our cells, and I would typically call to Marky Quiros, because Marky Quiros lived directly behind me. He was on Baker Row, I was on Abel Row. And I called over there and I says, hey, please call man down. Something's wrong with Shai. The first couple times it was immediate. Everybody starts yelling man down. Because nobody plays with that phrase in jail. Man down means somebody's sick, somebody's dying, somebody's hurt, and they need immediate medical attention. And the deputies will come down there, call medical staff, and take the guy out to give him whatever treatment he needed. After the second, third time, Chato started making fun of Shai, saying that he was faking, he was dying again, he was having a heart attack. But I took it serious. I went to the window and started pounding on the window because I was on the tier at the time when he was having one of these attacks. And he said, please call man down. I think I'm having a heart attack. And I went and pounded on the window. And I told the deputy, hey, we've got a man down over here. And Shai went. And I remember they prescribed him lithium, which is an antidepressant. And it was then that I understood that he was suffering from PTSD, that it was the anxiety, the free-floating and generalized anxiety disorder that he was suffering from. And like I said, in plenty of different videos before, you cannot participate in so much violence, witness so much violence, and be the victim of so much violence, and expect that it won't affect your psyche somehow. And it affected Shai. And I'm not saying it is a weakness because I suffer from PTSD. A bunch of people suffer from PTSD. It's not the big thing that everybody thinks, oh my God, you're weak or whatever, you know. I never saw Shai as weak because of that. But this is after a years-long relationship that I had known Shai after I'd been made in 1985. This is like 6 years later. He comes to the county jail. We had been on the streets multiple times together. And he was the kind of friend that, you know, I remember this one instance where I had stabbed a bago. I told the story before. And while I'm stabbing the bago, his protege, I guess they call him prospects, jumps up and kicks me after I had slipped in the gravel. The gunner pulled out a 223, the Ruger 223, the Mini 14. It chambered around and pointed it at me and said, get down. I turned around to take off and slipped in the gravel. As I slipped in the gravel, chainsaw, the bago that was assaulted, his prospect ran and kicked me in the side. And I remember they used to wear these big, bright green headbands. That was their color, right? The bago's color. And I get away. I get up. I run across the yard. I throw the shank and knife. I never called them shanks. I threw the knife and got away with it, right? Years later, I get made in the organization, and lo and behold, what happens? I made less than 6 months, and who do I see rocking a big green headband on Folsom Yard, Mainline Yard? We had all been released from the shoe. We're all on the main line, and I see the Prospect Boggle guy rocking a green headband, and I say, okay, I'm gonna have this guy whacked. So I go set about to that, and I get a camarada. I give him a fierro, a knife, and it's all set. That morning, Shai comes out to the yard with this massive knife, and I don't even know he's got one until he opens his jacket and says, "I got it. Let's go." He says, "I heard that somebody disrespected you or something." But that was the kind of guy he was. He wasn't about the talk. He was about doing. Like, hey, I'm with you. You know, not what can I do for you afterward? It's like, let's go. I'll help you carry this body. That's the kind of friend he was, and it always struck me as like this guy was a sincere, loyal friend. So when he approached me in the county jail on something, he asked me to do him a favor, but there was a whole story behind it. He was living with this girl named Maria, who was the sister of Michael Jurado. And I really liked Michael Jurado. Michael Jurado was a good camarada, a good sureño, and he was crimies with Albert Bribiesca, Chango from San Pedro. In fact, they went to the county with no life sentences. I think they had robberies or some kind of minor crime, right? They were going to get out of prison. And they were asked to do a favor, what we call a favor, in the county jail. In the county jail, they're asked to eliminate their cellie, and they do so, and they get caught in the cell with the body. So both Albert Bribiesca and Michael Jurado participate in this work for the organization and successfully complete it, and end up fighting charges for murder. While there, Michael Jurado and Albert Bribiesca, Chango and Musky, Musky being from Flores, Almonte Flores, and Chango being from San Pedro, are right next to all the brothers. I mean, they're on the fast track to getting made. This is a reality. They put in the ultimate sacrifice. They gave up their freedom. They eliminated somebody. They have good personalities. I always liked Michael. I always liked Albert Bribiesca. They were. I mean, we used to laugh. Albert used to make me laugh so hard. He was such a funny guy, and Michael was more reserved, but he was a good guy. He was a really good guy, and I never had anything personal against the guy, until Shai told me what occurred. Right. We're talking one day, and he's my next door neighbor, right next to me. I think I was in cell 28, and he was in cell 29 on Abel Row in 1700 in High Power in Los Angeles County Men's Central Jail. And he says, "Hey, man," he says, "I want you to do me a favor." And I tell him, "Yeah, anything. What's that?" Because that's the kind of guy he was. You ask me, I'm going to do it, right? He's my buddy. He's not just a carnal, he's a friend, right? And he says, "I want to make sure that this guy never gets in the organization." I said, "Who?" He says, "Musky." And I said, "Okay, but why?" He says, because Musky was told by certain carnales that they were going to go and kill Shai when he was living with Musky's sister Rhea. That they were going to go to the apartment, and Musk was to call his sister and tell her to get out of the apartment, and they're going to kill him in there. They're going to eliminate Shai in there. And Shai didn't know about it till months and months after the initial conspiracy had occurred. So the sister was willing to go along with it, and Musk was willing to go along with it. And he lived with Rhea and had a daughter with her. And Shai, just to no end, like, she betrayed me, I'll never forgive her. And that dude, man, he really wanted to eliminate him. That was his ultimate objective. He wanted to eliminate him for that. And he says, "Do me a favor, just give me your word that you won't let him in as long as I'm alive." And he says, "Because I have a feeling they're going to try to make him as soon as I leave." And I gave my word. I shook his hand, and I told him, "You got my word, bro. He won't get in." Lo and behold, Shai leaves the county jail and goes to a prison upstate, Pelican Bay, I think. I don't know where he goes. I think it was Pelican Bay. But they bring up Musk's name. I think it's Indio from Sereno that's attempting to sponsor him, because he's on the tier with Indio from Sereno, and they're very close. And the names floated to me and said, hey, they're putting this guy up for membership. And I told them no. And they asked me why. I said, no, I'm never, ever going to let this guy become a cardenal. Not as long as I'm alive. Those are my words. Not as long as I'm alive will he be made a cardenal. And I was a cardenal in good standing at the time, right? And I had a little tiny bit of juice. Not a lot, but I had just put in work on the streets. I had just did the thing with Mon, and I just did the thing with Indio. There were two reasons, really. Indio was sponsoring him, and the Shai thing, right? But the main thing was Shai, right? I could have looked past the Indio thing because Indio wasn't a threat to me. But then I believe I spoke with Turtle, Marquitos, or Indio. I can't remember which, but one of those guys, I spoke to him, and they said, why? Why are you opposing him so adamantly? And I told him, I says, this is why. Shai asked me never to let that guy in as long as he's alive. And I gave him my word, and he's not going to be in. I'm saying no. And back then, it was like one person opposes it, that's it, he's done. He can't be made a cardenal. Unless, I drop out, or I get killed, or I get stabbed. Then they can bring him up and do it, right? But as long as I'm alive, no. And I opposed that. And but it was never personal. It was never like I had this disdain for Michael. I disliked it because I really liked it, genuinely liked the guy, right? It was just politics. And I don't know that he's ever heard that. He probably hasn't, right? And if he's listening, then that's the reason he was opposed by me. But I never had any animosity towards him. I really liked the guy. But Shai was my brother, and he was my close friend, and he was my protege. He was my mentor, my protege. He was my mentor, and I would have done anything for him. But that's the story behind Musky Jurado. I heard he was recently released, and I am so happy to hear that news. He's always been a respectful individual. A lot of people that I knew liked his personality and his get down, but also a lot of people like Shai, and it's just one of those unfortunate things where a conspiracy that never came to fruition cost a man his membership. And I really think this, that had he become a member, Musk, he never would have seen freedom ever again. So maybe it was a blessing in disguise. I think in retrospect, if he looks at it, or if anybody looks at it, a rational person would say, well, you did the guy a favor by not letting him get in the organization. And I truly think that. I truly believe that, because this is not everything it's cracked up to be. Well, that's the story of Musk and Shai, and why Musk never got in. Hope you liked the story, folks. Gave you another long-form video. We're trying to make them as long as possible. As always, like, subscribe, hit the comments, and the notification bell. Most importantly, hit that hype. Share this video with a friend. Peace out, folks. Be safe.
This is Rene Enriquez. Nickname Uncensored.